We went to San Francisco, one of the most haunted cities in the world, to see if we could debunk some of the famous paranormal sites from around the city. Here's what happened. Join us as we venture into the darkest corners of the world. Prepare yourself for heart-pounding encounters, spine-tingling stories, and the unexplained. Join us if you have the courage. Welcome to the journey and to the unknown as we enter the most haunted places in the world. We're here at one of the most haunted places in San Francisco, the Presidio. We're going to check out the Letterman Building, one of the most haunted places in the Presidio, and also home of Lucasfilms. Let's head in. To open, here's a story from one of the Zodiac Killer's victims who was killed at the Presidio.
In 1969, among the patrons apparently coming out of the Geary Theater was the Zodiac Killer. The reputation of the serial killers is all over San Francisco. They often started here and then they went down south towards Los Angeles to you guys.
Dang it.
Paul Stein, he was a cab driver. He was hailed apparently by the Zodiac right there. They drive all the way to the Presidio. They park about a block away from their destination. They sit in the car together for 30 minutes, an hour. We don't know what was said, what was done until eventually the Zodiac pulls out a gun and blows the guy's head off. Apparently no reason.
Is there anyone here who would like to speak to us, please?
Can you tell us your name?
Yeah. Please?
Holt? Holt? Maybe it's like Holt?
Is your name Holt? Stan?
Stan? We were hoping to hear from Paul Stein, but instead we heard from Stan. Stan made an appearance in our episode at Alcatraz. While we don't hear from him again here, don't worry, he will be coming up later this episode.
My goodness.
Is there anyone else here? Is there another person? You don't want to miss what we heard on the Spirit Box, and how this place became the most haunted theater in the world.
She's going to rejoin him in the afterlife. This is the Dennis T. Sullivan Memorial Firehouse. Sullivan, this gentleman right here, he was the fire chief back during the 1906 earthquake. They were sleeping here in 1906 on the top floor. The building that's this right here was not this one, but a slightly taller hotel. The collapse is on top of them. Firefighters came rushing on to save their chief, and they found them both buried in rubble on the basement floor. They were both alive. Sullivan was barely at a fractured skull, puncture wound, laceration, third-degree burns all over his body, but whether it's from tenacity or adrenaline, this man picks himself up and starts fighting the fires. Apparently somebody sees him grab a hose or put out the fires himself until he could literally no longer walk, and they had to drag him to the hospital. While there, he only has two concerns. One, how the effort fighting the fire was going to ask for constant updates in and out of consciousness. And two, of course, how his wife was doing. It was only 4 days after getting the field hospital that he does succumb to his injuries. There was a radiator on his side of the bed that exploded and took out about half of his face. This man was reportedly fighting the fires for about 30 minutes while literally half of his face was melted off. With all that in mind, there is an upside to the story. It's believed this man decided to stick around. Firefighters sometimes say they see this man before a fire even strikes, warning them of some sort of impending doom. Particularly true for a fire chief back in the 80s who was sleeping in this building. He says he gets a nightmare, a dream. In it, he's standing on the pier and he sees an island with a warehouse on it, ablaze on fire. Further down the coast is a man he does not recognize at first, screaming at him, saying, get up now, when he's stirred awake. He immediately gets a phone call. When he answers it, there's a fire down by the docks. It's a courtesy call. You always call the chief. Essentially they said, hey, it's a small fire. We got it covered. Don't worry about it. But he was stirred by that dream. And good thing he was, because the extra hands that he called for, that he demanded, they were able to find 2 men that were trapped inside and save their lives. Now, obviously, once this all settles, this man says, I'm certain that was soul of my dreams, looking out for us, supporting us. We don't know. It's his word against ours. But if nothing else, a really heartwarming story. Talk about a lot of messed up shit in this tour. It's nice to think that Sullivan, who truly was like a hero of his time, might continue to help the city and even beyond.
Dennis here? No, Dennis is not here. Is there like a spirit here though? 1, 2? Like 2? Dead firefighters? One of them is. So maybe we can try the spirit box here. See if we're getting anything, since we're not getting much on the EMF. Okay, is there anything here right now that wants to talk to us?
Sound like it is.
Can we get your name?
Let's see, I'm kind of getting that maybe we need to switch over to FM.
If someone can tell us your name. Protect. I heard that earlier. Are you trying to protect us? Anyone want to tell us a name? Your age, when you died?
Were you one of the firefighters?
Response.
Responses.
Were you one of the first responders?
Well, like, of course, but I don't know. Were you an EMT, yes or no?
I might have heard a yes, I'm not sure.
This is the current theater. Is my favorite story in the entire tour. It's a plane here that was called the Showboat. It was a production that was saving the theater. It was almost dying just before this. Manning the ticket booth, you'll see this poster right here that says 6. Essentially, that used to be an open-face ticket sales. A man named Hewlett Tarr, the breadwinner of a single mother. He's engaged to be married, and he's standing right across the street right here. In fact, he's been working there for 6 years. He's the treasurer of the theater already. This guy was making enough money that they were finally going to have that wedding they've always wanted. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen because another man named Anderson, also 25, comes up next in line, stuffs the gun through the bars, and it bumps the ticket wicket. Goes off and hits Hewlett right in the chest. Young guy's last words were apparently, "What was that noise?" The fiance standing right here, Dorothy, she runs across the street, she jumps into that little ticket booth and holds him in her arms for like, I don't know, a few minutes until the ambulance finally gets there. As he bleeds out all over that ground. I believe that he's trapped here in this theater. More so than any other theater, and of course every theater is haunted, people see this man. He's seen in the reflections of the mirrors and even the glass. He's seen banging on, screaming at the top of his lungs, but making no sound as if desperately trying to escape from somewhere. Many decades later, a woman is reportedly staying in this very same theater. She becomes like obsessed with the guy's story. Coworkers would catch her from the back of the building at like the specific mirror, speaking to herself, as if speaking directly to Hewlett Tarr. This gets so bad that they have to take her to the side and says, you know, stop. We're all having a good time here, but you got to cut it out. Comes in her day off wearing a bleach white wedding dress. She's crying, weeping, mascara streaked down her cheeks, and she's carrying a gun. Right back to that favorite mirror at the back of the theater, and she puts the gun to her head. She declares she's the reincarnation of Hewlett Tarr's fiance. She's going to rejoin him in the afterlife. Now, her co-workers had seen her the moment she stepped into this building. While she's making this declaration, they tack her to the ground, they wrestle the gun from her, and they save her life. With very little support, she actually finds herself homeless in the street. She changes her tune though. She will only go by Mrs. Tarr. Her coworkers would check up on her from time to time, see what she was doing. But apparently over the coming months, years, she becomes more and more vacant, distant, until eventually resigned to only ever speak into a little mirror that she kept in her pocket.
Coming up, what dark secrets do these buildings hide?
Covering it all the way up. Built in one night. No one knew how they did it. No one knew why they did it. This right here is the Pacific Union Club headquarters. Now, like I already mentioned, Fairmont, this brownstone, these are the only two that survived the earthquake of 1906. Where the Fairmont has a sort of curse associated. This one is a deep-seated conspiracy theory. It's constructed by a man named James Flood. Quite possibly the most powerful person in the entire world of his day. This becomes the headquarters. It's like a club. It's a men's fraternity. It's been here for over 100 years. There was almost no information about them. What's left out of that Wikipedia page is what's underneath our feet. We know it's there. The city is aware. There's a network of tunnels that bores out all of Nob Hill. They come from Crocker Garage, this Fairmont Hotel where we just were, Grace Cathedral, the church, the Masonic Temple, the Freemasons, and like a web where this is the literal center of it, they all specifically link up to this building. We don't know exactly why. This might be old passages, but they still use them. Friend of a friend who did a wedding event, and he was put at the Fairmont Hotel. They put him deep into the basement. He stood by a door, and then the door opens, and he saw a tunnel straight all the way across. The wedding party had been wed at the Grace Cathedral, came here for a little bit of reception party, and then continued on to stay at the Fairmont Hotel. What are they doing there otherwise? I don't know, all sorts of weird little ceremonies, satanic rituals, sacrificing virgins, all the effort to keep their building from collapsing during natural disasters. The man himself is seen here from time to time. He's known as the forgetful grandpa of the residents, Flood himself. But there's something far more malevolent here. There's a janitor that once worked in this building. He was cleaning the pool one night, and he starts hearing some splashes out of the corner of his eyes. He thinks, maybe it's me or a coworker calls out. No answer. He says he's the only one down there. He hears it though. It's right in front of him. It's like wet feet run on the tiles. It's not even coming from the water, but he can't see anything. And he feels at first the hairs in the back of his neck standing up as if someone's staring right in the back of his head. Martin's turned something, grabs him by the ankle, and pulls him into that water. He was a powerful collegiate swimmer, but he could not get his head above that water surface. He describes what feels like minutes going by. For the first time maybe ever, he's drowning. He looks out, maybe he's caught on something, elaborate prank from a coworker, whatever it might be, with all his strength. Probably a very powerful swimmer, pulls himself out, grabs that lip, and yanks. He says he feels it loosen its grip for just enough seconds that he can finally free himself. He jumps out. He's drenching wet. He runs all the way up here. He tells managers, coworkers. It becomes a little bit of a buzz in the tabloids. People are talking about it in the news. For the first time ever, they're talking about this club. About 6 days later, they have an official statement. They say it was a work accident. They erase all mention of the pool. The janitor, he'd work here for a couple more years, but according to his coworkers, he would never work in the pool again for obvious reasons. But he changes his tune, honestly. He says, maybe I was delirious, maybe I was imagining things. Oh, I don't know, I'm a bit of a cynic. Sounds like there was some coercion there, some hush money, some intimidation. But then again, maybe they just didn't want to be associated with yet another weird story. But if you believe a little bit more in the supernatural, I'd also think whatever's in those tunnels under Earth right now has started making its way up to the surface. And he said that smoke and mirrors, they wanted to know about that. This is the Illuminati, right? Now, Union Square, 1906, was a big deal for the whole city. This was probably the largest refugee camp during the earthquake and fire itself. I say during. The fires raged for 3 days and 3 nights. I think that does something to a place. What people would call a residual impression is here. People feel that anxiety, that fear. In fact, the tents that continue to be pitched here for months following were not a great place. There was a lot of disease here, a lot of malnutrition. Back in 1934, this square is taken over by a sect of the Freemasons, a group claiming to be the Knights Templar. They descended on the square doing sort of strange little rituals, ceremonies. People didn't know why. All around this monument in particular. It stood there for over 100 years. In fact, it survives the earthquake, which is insane. All that time unaccosted, unblocked, undamaged, except for this year, 1934. People would go to bed. They wake up the next morning. Just as the sun is cresting over this square, they see it. Wrapping its way around this column is a stone Gothic tower, covering it all the way up. Built in one night. I mean, seemingly impossible. No one knew how they did it. No one knew why they did it. It stood there for many long weeks until eventually when there was like 3 young lads, very drunk, they were coming upon it. One of them was a bit of a daredevil. Dared by his 2 friends, climbing to the top. Does so. Waves out to his friend, slips, falls all the way down, lands right on top of his head, lands on his chrome, cracks his skull, dies, obviously. Everyone was already freaking out. You know, you can't just build a public square and a big tower in the middle of it. But they had networked their way in the city. Apparently any effort to try to look into this was being blocked. So this was the first time everyone's talking about it. Again, it's in the newspaper, the tabloids. 3-4 weeks later, I guess, they said that people went to bed and they woke up the next morning just like before and it's gone.
It's back to normal.
It's back to normal. The column, as we see now, is deconstructed again in one night.
Photographs of it?
That's all we have. I have them on my phone. I'll bring them up.
That's so interesting. So this isn't just like a tall tale or something. Like there is
physical proof. Oh.
We have this photograph, and this is the wide shot right here.
What?
Those 2 buildings are the same right behind us here, right?
That's crazy.
If this was built in one night, that's impossible, right? So that's
like
probably not what happened, but we don't know. Gothic, beautiful. I mean, it has symbols all over. I mean, that's the diamond of the Freemasons. Up here, Salem symbol right there, which is the Templar symbol. Beautiful cross at the top. Again, the Dewey Monument's in the middle of this. It's constructed around it. What has happened since is there are so many more of those same spirit works. We get them like crazy up here. And more than that, from time to time, people say they see something out of the corner of their eyes. A man falling, just like the Beacon Grand Hotel. Scream falling and then disappearing. Perhaps the same daredevil, this gentleman. Again, a residual impression of his death, repeating it over and over. You cannot find this anywhere. It is insane. There's a Wikipedia page, obviously, about Union Square. It talks about how it started in the aftermath of the Civil War, as many Union Squares did. Nothing is mentioned about that tower. Again, I don't know if they're trying to cover shit up. It's just
maybe
weird.
It's being suppressed. Okay, we're back in Union Square. We're already getting a lot of activity. I'll walk away from this. Let's just make sure. I don't know. It's pretty high all over here. So we took the range down, and I put it on minimum, and it's still going off like crazy. So this is not getting too far. Maybe just like a foot or two, and it's still going off. Insane. It is less if I point it this way, though. It's definitely more over here. I will say, the energy standing right next to it just feels kind of dark. It's actually kind of giving me a little bit of a headache. Definitely like a heavy energy, kind of a dark energy. I'm not really sure what that's from. That wants to talk.
Up next, we pulled out the spirit box and heard.
This is the Nob Hill Inn. It's one of our oldest buildings for a very specific reason, because it was built right after the 1906 earthquake. This building is said to be possibly the most haunted building in all of San Francisco. Big claim, a lot of people like to make this claim. In fact, this one in particular is said to have 22 ghosts, 22 unique personalities. In fact, there are more ghosts here than there are rooms, so if you want to stay here, got a pretty good chance. These spirits, when it was open, they weren't described as being evil or malicious, malevolent. They were described as tricksters, pranksters. This is lights flickering, things going missing. One person said they stepped out in the shower, they found all their clothes and towels thrown in the hallway. They run up there naked. So we started to watch the TV, especially flip the channel, kept flipping the actors showing a Night of the Living Dead, that or static. Honestly, endless little frustrations, little microaggressions. I would love this. And one housekeeper said they were specifically targeting her. She comes to a room, she's going to clean it up. She gets all spick and span, leaves, comes right back inside. The whole room was a disheveled mess, a second time. Way worse than she found in the first place. Now, I would have screamed, but apparently she just does this, again, it opens all the damn time. An hour later, comes back to the bathrooms of the rooms. When she steps inside, when you know it, again, a disheveled mess. She has to clean up now a third time.
Oh my God.
She's starting to feel a little shaky. She gets to the bathroom, just trying to get home. She's starting to do it quite fast. She notices, though, the faucet, maybe she broke it, did something wrong, but it's leaking. And she starts to try to fix the faucet, the tap. She notices that it starts to leak a stranger, different color. It's like red, black, blue. She steps a rag a little bit further into it until it finally stops, and the sink goes and the toilet goes. The whole room is exploding with this stuff. Again, she's pretty stoic, but she can't handle it anymore. She says, look, I'm going to get this stopped. I'm going to clean all this up tomorrow. She steps back to the bedroom area. When you know it, it's a disheveled mess. Mm-hmm. The story goes, this woman stomps right down in the lobby right here, turns her apron, and she quits on the spot. This building has had a reputation long before this was even a hotel. In fact, this was a single family home when it was first constructed. One family lived in that whole damn building. And from the moment it was constructed, there's been a very specific encounter that seems to be our most common. There was something in the closets, face, translucent in nature. You would be putting away your luggage, opening that closet door, and you would see a translucent pair of eyes, often peering right at you. It's been described as not really knowing what you're looking at until you watch both of them blink right in front of you. This building was constructed in 1907 in response to the 1906 earthquake. It was actually one of the first things that got reconstructed after earthquake and fire, and I think that does something to a place. This, for those that died here, was the thousands and thousands that deceased. This felt like a familiar place, a place that you maybe once called home or felt like that kind of space. So I feel like this may have been this refuge. And also, they're a bit more jovial, a bit more innocent, so we really think they might be children. And we just hope that they're having a good time, even if it is the expense of everybody else.
We're at the Nob Hill Inn. See if we get anything. Oh, a little bit. That's hard to say. It was really minor. We're not getting a whole lot in the email. And it is not operational, but we did see someone in there. And a little bit right here, but I mean, it's hard to say. Maybe it's just electrical current. Oh, got really high. There might be electrical equipment or wiring. I don't know. It is getting higher, though. Hard to say not being able to go in, but definitely getting something over here. Okay, we're going to use the pendulum. I'm getting, there's definitely a lot of activity here. Some kids, some adults. It's at 22. Some more? No, I thought it was less. So it's not actually 22. It doesn't seem like. There's still a lot, maybe a dozen or more, maybe a little over a dozen spirits that kind of come in and out of this hotel here. Let's see if we can get any of them to talk to us on the spirit box. Let's see. I think I got like maybe 2 or 3 down here with us right now that are interested. Let's go ahead and give it a shot.
Let's play that again. Snake is a ghost who we heard from in our episode from Alcatraz and San Remo Hotel in San Francisco. Now, unfortunately, we didn't hear Snake talking at that time. In fact, I didn't even hear Snake during my initial edit of this video.
House?
It was only after turning up the volume, removing background noise, and bringing out voices that I was able to hear it at all.
Protect?
Are you protecting the house? Just talking to this box right here. What are you trying to say?
Anyone want to tell us their name?
But the crazy part is, we heard from him again. And then, right when I said to cut,
Yeah.
Stan made his next appearance. But the craziest part is this actually was the first time we heard from Stan. See, I didn't upload the San Francisco series in chronological order. This ghost tour was actually the night before our paranormal investigation at Alcatraz, and the Presidio was the last thing we did before leaving San Francisco. So this right here was the first true appearance. I say all this because if you watched the Alcatraz episode, and if you haven't watched that, you definitely should, but I mentioned a psychic talking to Stan on the island. But it turns out he was following us through the whole city, trying desperately to communicate with us. If you haven't already, make sure to check out our episode from Alcatraz and the San Remo. If you guys enjoyed this episode, make sure to leave a like and comment down below where you think we should go to next.
Don't be afraid of the dark.